Everything Ram is seen as antithetical to their idea of India. The biggest firing on Hindu saints and seers took place under the watch of Indira Gandhi. Look at what the Congress is saying right now. It wants to divide India along caste lines. It's divided India along linguistic lines. And the latest being Uncle Sam trying to divide India on skin color. So on the one hand, consolidate the Muslim vote bank. Because if that is consolidated and Hindu society is divided, you have a winning recipe. और कांग्रेस ने अपनी जिंदगी में कितने ओबीसी मुख्यमंत्री बनाए? कांग्रेस का एवरेज हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स की एक स्टडी थी, they have made about 15%. The BJP, which is Brahman Baniya party, apparently has made 30% plus. It is going to be an unbelievable victory.
तो फिर इतने लोगों को लेने की क्या जरूरत है? जो अजीब गरीब लोग आ रहे हैं।
ये आनंद रंगनाथन यहाँ ना भी होना तो आनंद रंगनाथन का सवाल आ जाता है। ये आनंद रंगनाथन अपना सवाल मुझसे डायरेक्ट पूछो ना आप।
I also thought for a long time that the Congressization of the BJP was going to happen.
Congress Party's chief genetic officer published a report about a pretty groundbreaking report about Indian genetics.
In Jammu Kashmir, where the Hindu was the minority, there also the Muslim was getting the status of minority.
Correct. Sam Pitroda's resignation has cost the BJP
At least.
The day Rahul Gandhi resigns, the Congress has a chance of winning the election. I pray for this kind of irrelevance where you make a prime ministerial candidate pick up his langot and run away to the next constituency.
ये podcast sponsored by Congress है क्या? In third year it will be what Abhijit may like, Aam Aadmi Party. It will be a happy all through the years.
कितना गंदा माँ बाप की गाली दे रहा है वो भी पॉडकास्ट पे, ये शरीफ पॉडकास्ट है, गंदी गंदी गाली मत दे।
और Prime Minister, the one area where he has failed is that not meeting up to Dhruv Rathi's expectations.
और अगर 150 आ गए तो 150 आ गए तो
वो इस देश में नहीं है। आप कौन से देश का बोल रहे हो वो बता दो मुझे।
All right, we're here today. This is a very special episode because I remember I was watching Smita's ANI episode, and there was a very popular series that you have called the Samosa Caucus. Yeah. And I was wondering if you could think of a name for this caucus. And being from Bihar, I could only think of the Rabdi Caucus. So that's what we'll go with for this episode.
Litti Choka Caucus.
Yeah, that down market mat karo. Rabdi is thoda hamara na, it's a classy snack.
No, Mutton Ahuna Caucus.
Mutton Ahuna Caucus वो बहुत ज़्यादा niche हो गया. रबड़ी इज समथिंग जो लोग जानते भी हैं, थोड़ा अप मार्केट भी है।
इसमें बिहार का यूनिकनेस क्या है?
चंपारण का रबड़ी इज तो वेरी फेमस इन बिहार ना।
Really?
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. Rabdi is very famous in Bihar, also because of Rabdi Devi.
Name it after some famous Bihari. Call it the Chandragupta Maurya Caucus.
Kautilya Caucus.
वो तो तक्षशिला से था. He was Northwest Frontier Province.
Correct. ठीक है, चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य कॉकस, also known as the Rabdi Caucus in Hindi. हिंदी में जब भी पब्लिश होगा तो Rabdi Caucus ही बोलेंगे.
और the Patliputra Prattle.
हाँ, Patliputra Prattle.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Prattle. That's a good one. Yeah. We'll keep that one. Patliputra Prattle. Trademarked. So I'm joined, of course, by Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Smita Prakash, and once again in the show, Shehzad Poonawalla. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I want to start, obviously, with something important because, you know, there's a groundbreaking piece of research that came out just a day or so ago. The Congress Party's chief genetic officer published a report about a pretty groundbreaking report about Indian genetics, which sort of turned Indian genetics on its head. And the findings have been quite surprising, which is people from the northeast are actually of Chinese descent, people from west of India are of Arab descent, people from the north of India are of European descent, and people from the south of India are straight up Africans. So I want to start with Abhijit. What is that in that genetic studies up? What do you end up being?
See, you know, my ancestors came from Ukraine 3,500 years back. But
to civilize either.
So you've heard of the out of Africa theory? Yeah. We go by the Sam Pitroda's return to Africa theory. So what happened was, because I'm Sino-African, you see on the Pontic steppes, the Proto-Mongols, Proto-Turco-Mongols met the Proto-Aryans,
right,
and they combined and they came to civilize the natives on their horse-drawn chariots, you see, which is why you can tell I am so fair and she is so dark.
That's true.
Right? And
well, she is technically from Africa, so it does track.
I'm pure African.
She's pure African, right? And it was there, you know, it was in this famous capital town of Africa called Madras, where I got my dark hue. So you see, I'm now African. I self-identify as African.
But there's also some Chinese there.
There's some Chinese.
There's some Chinese.
Turco-Mongol.
Turco-Mongol African. Yeah. And you are fully African.
Fully African.
Fully African. And what about you, Shahzad?
Well, I would just say on a more serious note that some people have such foreign leadership in their party now that even Indians are being seen as foreigners. So I think that is the impact of foreign vision and foreign leadership. And Uncle Sam, coincidentally, his name was Satyanarayan Gangaram Pitroda. So from Satyanarayan Gangaram Pitroda to Sam.
He's Pitru Odha, no? That's what is the. Is
that what it is?
I would suppose that could be. So anyways, he's gone from Satyanarayan to Sam. But he's seeing Sam in every Satyanarayan year. That's the problem.
Yeah, as Maya Sarabhai would say, Sam, Satyanarayan is so middle class. I wanted to be Sam.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, Jagdish becomes Jack. And, it's easier.
Right.
If I was to live in America and my name would be... Like, I have a cousin whose name is Mridula. And she
that would be difficult.
Can you imagine saying Mridula? Yeah. Even in Indians find it difficult, right?
I'll get my wife to say it. And I'll play that clip for you.
And and when she goes to Starbucks, she's called Mr. Idula. M.R. Idula.
But the larger point that is...
So horrible, right?
Listen, they can pronounce Polish names like Vasilievsky and things like that just fine,
yeah.
Right? Why the hell can't they pronounce Indian names properly?
See, when two consonants together, people who are phonetically challenged, I think, they can't. Like, I become Samita. I become Sumita.
Right.
Depending on where in India you are. Ismita, Samita, Sumita. And if you go to Arab...
Are Punjabis able to say your name fine?
No, Samita.
Samita, right?
Yeah. And in Arab, you become Asmita.
Arab Asmita.
Asmita. Smita in Maharashtra.
But while we've all been obsessing on this statement of Sam, Uncle Sam, which, by the way, we must, because it's very, very offensive, racist and bigoted. Another statement that was made just before that was that the idea of India, its diversity and its democracy, is challenged by Ram and by Ram Navami. That is a state. By the way, the Congress...
And Bajrang Dal. He put Bajrang Dal instead of saying Bajrang
but sticking to this...
He said Bajrang Dal.
So, but just sticking to this statement, he said that Prime Minister going to the Ram Mandir itself and Ram Navami are challenges to Indian idea of India. Now, how disconnected can somebody be? Because Mahatma Gandhi himself had advocated the idea of Ram Rajya. He in fact said that, the way you could define India in one way would be through its Ramatva. And therefore, that is the transition that this Congress has gone from Mahatma Gandhi's Congress, which it never was, to Rahul Gandhi's Congress or Nehru's Congress, where everything Ram is seen as antithetical to their idea of India. And I think that statement actually, the Congress did not say a word on it, even contradicting it. Eventually now Sam Uncle has himself resigned.
Right.
And Jairam Ramesh in his tweet says that, look, we didn't take his resignation, he resigned on his own accord. It's as if to say that we did not, hua to hua. Statement to hua. So he is resigned. But I feel like nobody has even taken a position on this aspect of what Sam Pitroda said. And nobody has said that how can he say that Ram is against the idea of India.
What happened there? Because, if you look at the 60s and if you look at Indira Gandhi also campaigning, there was still an element of like pro-Hinduness in when Indira Gandhi campaigned, when she talked about politics. What happened then gradually? Then today you have leaders of the party saying stuff like that and saying, "Ye jo Jai Shri Ram bolte hai na, ye aise aise kaam karte hain galat salat tarike ke."
See, it starts, I think, with Sonia Gandhi really, because you look at Indira, she was pretty, she used to go touch the Paramacharya's feet and things like that in Kanchi and things like that. Even with Rajiv Gandhi is the one that ordered the, the breaking of the locks and the opening of the, what was then the Babri Masjid.
He didn't order it, it was a court order.
It was a court
order.
He allowed
it to be executed.
He allowed it to happen. And in those days, it was a big deal. Now, today, the Overton window shifted so far. But just allowing Ramayana to be broadcast on TV was a huge thing. So, if...
that was to make up for the gaffe they did in Shahbano.
It was. Yeah. It really was. It was to make up for the gaffe that they did in Shahbano. But jo hua, so hua. And, it was... I think they were all... The first three generations were much more rooted in India than Sonia and her son. I think, she's done a wonderful job raising a European social democrat who's completely absorbed into European societal discourses and European social norms and is completely clueless about India. He doesn't even holiday in India. Indira Gandhi, all her vacations used to be in tiger reserves in India. Her father's vacations, occasionally they'd go to the family in Italy, but most of his vacations used to be in tiger reserves of India or going to Lakshadweep or Andamans and things like that.
But I don't agree with your assessment simply because after independence, when the Somnath issue came up, it was Nehru who said that it would be Hindu revivalism. So I think actually this is Gandhi family. There's nothing wrong that Rahul Gandhi is doing. I think Indira Gandhi was the exception because perhaps she was a far better political person or a political mind compared to the rest. And therefore she sensed that this actually benefits me. So I play this card or I play this part. But I think originally left to themselves, they would do exactly what Nehru had done, which is oppose Somnath, and they're doing exactly what Rahul is doing, oppose Ayodhya, oppose Ram Mandir.
Fair point. That tells you that Indira was a smart politician.
Yeah.
Nobody denies that.
To own that and take it over is what the Gandhi should have done if they lusted after power.
Yeah.
So either we're looking at an extremely stupid branch of the family or some Mahatyagi branch of the family that are like, ideology is more important than this thing.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's the former, but it could be the latter.
As far as if we were to just look back when Indira Gandhi is concerned, she even had connections going with her children, meeting with the RSS and things. So there were those things happening. She was going and meeting with Babas and Sadhus and Peers. Some people say that she even had tantric links she used to do.
That's right.
Yeah, not she herself, but she used to meet with tantrics. There were no barriers where, as far as she was completely immersed in doing Hindu religious practices and all. You need to just go to Mehroli to see the temples out there and figure out what was happening. So she would use it for political purposes as well as for her spiritual thing. She was inclined towards Hinduism. There was also the Congress which had the Gai Bachra and all. Somewhere the politics changed, which was in the 70s. When the regional parties came up after the JP movement, they realized that there was splintering of the Hindu vote which was happening. So it wasn't one unit which was going to vote for her, even with the Rudraksh and stuff. So there were things which were changing. And what were they trying to rely on? Vote bank politics, which was the Muslim vote they wanted. They had the upper caste vote always in Uttar Pradesh. They had the upper caste. They needed the Muslim. So slowly the secular element started coming in when it was. With Sanjay and with Rahul, with Rajiv, things were happening. Like there is, if you read some of the books, it says when she sent her sons to meet with RSS, people say, just tell Rajiv everything should not be discussed at the dining table.
Oh.
Which means that when Rajiv was meeting with people in the RSS, she didn't want it to be discussed, which means she probably didn't want Sonia Gandhi to know about it. So, which is fine.
Yeah.
In political families, these things happen. It's not just the Gandhis which did it. It's there in every political family where you tell your son or your daughter to do some stuff, but they should not tell their spouse because the spouse... And in many of the cases, the spouses come from another political family.
Right.
So, these playing of these games happen in these dynastic
but
families.
But Smita, the biggest firing on Hindu saints and seers took place under the watch of Indira Gandhi. So to assume that she had, I think she...
Somewhere politics comes up also. She also did the firing in Golden Temple, though she used to go to Gurdwaras. So, politics, national security, the thing about that she took particular decisions which seem anti-Hindu. They are not ideology driven like the BJP is. If the BJP sees something which is anti-Hindu, it doesn't matter. They will not take a step which is anti-Hindu because their ideology doesn't allow it. So the politics takes a back seat. Everything will take a back seat because that is a Hindu or a national interest driven party. It doesn't work like that with all other political parties. They are not that ideology driven like the way you people are. So
on the contrary, if you actually examine the Congress right from its inception, post 1900s, the space for anybody who articulated a strong Hindu line they got systematically sidelined. Please see the systematic sidelining of Lokmanya Tilak. Please see the systematic sidelining of those leaders in the Congress party. The Congress party, ironic, why did Jinnah have a problem with Congress? Because he used to articulate that Congress is a Hindutva party at that time. But then there has been a systematic sidelining of those leaders who are unabashed, unapologetically Hindu, who stood up to Nehru's fantasies about Western secularism, who challenged him, including Rajendra Prasad and others, and those leaders have got systematically sidelined. So I would argue actually there has been this idea of catering and appeasing a particular vote bank right from the 1920s and 30s, ever since Nehru took over the Congress and started gaining prominence, and I think that has continued. And Rahul is doing exactly what he has been trained for. And yes, in the middle, Indira Gandhi, because she was a better politician, she played up to the galleries whenever it suited her. But was her heart really there? I would have a big question mark on that.
If you look at the BJP, you were talking about how the BJP has a very clear sort of ideological, understanding of what they want to do. In the last 20 to 30 years, will you be able to pinpoint at what the Congress's core ideology has been? If I were to say कि पिछले 30 सालों में कांग्रेस की core ideology क्या है? How would you explain
appeasement.
That? Okay.
Let's call it out for what it is. I think we should not be so politically correct that we don't call out what it is. It is unabashed Muslim appeasement. I don't think the Congress party at this stage cares about much. It cares only about galvanizing a certain section while dividing the Hindu society. And there is evidence to that effect. Look at what the Congress is saying right now. It wants to divide India along caste lines. It's divided India along linguistic lines. It's now dividing India even along some kind of class lines. And the latest being Uncle Sam trying to divide India on skin color. Or Hindu society essentially on skin color. And then on the other hand, you say all the Muslims should unite or galvanize, including calls of vote bank jihad, to saying that all Muslims should come together, giving them this fear-mongering that they are going to be sent to genocide or to gas chambers, which many of the Congress-minded panelists or that ecosystem, when they come, even on Smita's podcast, allude to. So on the one hand, consolidate the Muslim vote bank, because if that is consolidated and Hindu society is divided, you have a winning recipe. That's what they are aiming at. And look at the entire rhetoric of this election also. It's aimed only at unabashed Muslim polarization, while doing nothing for the Muslim community. Let's be clear about that also. They don't care one bit for the Muslims or their condition. All they want is the vote. For instance, in Maharashtra, 48 Lok Sabha seats. And this is not BJP. BJP never sets these standards that you have to give X seats to qualify as secular. But Maharashtra, the MV has given zero seats to Muslim. And their own minister, Naseem Ahmed, Mohammad Naseem Ahmed,
said, what is this?
Vote lenge, seat nahi denge. So Congress is very clear. Their agenda in this election, if you have to sum it up, and for the last 30-40 years, has been Muslim first. Modi says nation first. Now you can argue, you can say, have problems with what that articulation is. Maybe somebody might feel that, no, but this nation first does not include this. Okay. But Congress is clearly saying Muslim first. And Manmohan Singh has said it in those words.
They're not doing it. They say it, but the policies and programs are not.
Because that's a big allegation that they made against the BJP, that Muslims ko representation nahi milta hai is party mein.
So they don't do it. They don't give Muslims representation either. It is the positioning that they do for votes, and the gullible Muslims think कि BJP के साथ तो कुछ नहीं मिलना है, तो फिर यहाँ पे चले जाते हैं. कम से कम यहाँ पे वो बोल तो रहे. So बोलेंगे तो trickle down effect कुछ होगा तो सही. But when you were talking about where is Congress today, since the creation of the NAC, since then they have moved from center to steadily left, and with Rahul Gandhi now, with Sitaram Yechuri being his and Yogendra Yadav ji and Kanhaiya, all these people, it has moved extreme left, and you can see that Rahul Gandhi doesn't care at all what the manifesto says. He has his own interpretation, which then everybody in the Congress, all the spokespersons and the unofficial spokespersons who go on channels, have to bend backwards to defend what Rahul Gandhi is saying and try to marry it with the manifesto. The manifesto doesn't mention Muslims. The manifesto doesn't say redistribution of wealth, but Rahul Gandhi is interpreting it. So that is like... Mana for the BJP.
But I tell you, this argument is so hopeless when these, like she said, Congress and pseudo-Congress, and I know a couple of them personally, pseudo-Congress and Congress. So,
उनकी तो मौज है यार. I mean, the blacklisting.
मौज तो ये है कि ANI podcast में official BJP has come once from the Poonawalla side, and unofficial Congress has come more than once. तो मौज तो है, ANI में भी मौज है. पर having said that, और official BJP को 1 million से ज्यादा views मिले.
Correct.
That's true. So you know where the Janata is watching. But anyways, point is कि देखिए, this argument that it's not written in the manifesto. Muslim शब्द कहाँ है? तो भाई हमने कहा लिखा है हम आरक्षण को हटा दे मैनिफेस्टो में, तो वो हम पे क्यों चिपकाते हैं? वो हम पे इसलिए चिपकता है क्योंकि somebody has said it. Somebody has said that हम लोग संविधान बदलेंगे. PM has said हम लिख के दे रहे संविधान नहीं बदलेंगे. There it is still being labeled on us. And here your leaders are saying one after the other, redistribution 50% दे देंगे, कमाई कितनी है, प्रियंका ऐसे कमाई कितनी है वो देख लेंगे. And then there are many things which are not mentioned in the manifesto, like Chidambaram said.
Chidambaram, that TV interview, it's amazing, which has not been picked up by the BJP, which I cannot understand why. Chidambaram on India Today actually said that why you so obsessed about Muslim minorities in the minorities when PM in the sense when Dr. Manmohan Singh said minorities, especially Muslims, there are also linguistic minorities. So then the anchor says, what do you mean? So he then specifies in great detail that a Bengali who goes to work as an auto driver or whatever, he goes to Maharashtra, becomes a minority because he's linguistic minority. Right. He's going from Bengal to Maharashtra, becomes so. Then he goes on to say he can also take benefits because he's a minority.
Right. But Manmohan Singh said especially Muslims.
But then he's talking about the manifesto.
Yeah, we don't recognize linguistic minorities.
Correct. But look at the twisting I'm saying. Yeah. So when they say something, the Prime Minister of the day might have said Muslims, especially minorities. When it actually translates into policy, so even linguistic, you become a minority.
So I think the common
I become a minority, you become a minority in Delhi.
But let me tell you,
the ideology of the Congress party.
Before Smita, these people, if I was the anchor of that show, I would say that Mr. Chidambaram, in Jammu Kashmir, where the Hindu was the minority, there also the Muslim was getting the status of minority.
Correct.
In Punjab, where the Hindu is the minority and Sikhs are the majority, there also it was not the Hindu was getting minority status. And in the northeast
states, that anchor enough up to
the only problem was I was eating chiclets while he was doing journalism, but now he's still eating chiclets and I am doing his work. So the problem is that somebody has to spit out the chiclets and the propaganda. Now, one more point I want to ask, that when it comes to execution, who has given full Muslim community reservation, which is unconstitutional and against Ambedkar ji's thought process? And that has been given out of SC/ST OBC quota. So when they say that we are also talking about linguistic minority, but you have given Muslim minority, full Muslim community, whether they are or are not OBC, reservation from the OBC category.
You're doing that in Gujarat, you're doing that in Andhra Pradesh, they are getting, OBCs are getting.
In Gujarat, the entire Muslim community doesn't get. Nobody is
70
saying,
castes are getting, no.
Nobody is saying that there aren't certain sections of Muslim community that are backward and are entitled to certain kind of benefits under an affirmative action scheme, which by the way the Prime Minister also gives them through the EWS. In EWS, if you are Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, whatever, caste doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter, if you're backward, you get it, economically and socially. But having said that, my simple question is, in Karnataka, the state where you are from, the entire Muslim community, and it was not done by Deve Gowda, it was done by Veerappa Moily. It was done in 1994, before December 1994, till the time Moily had a government, it was a Congress government. They gave the entire Muslim community. In Rangnath Mishra.
He was the only OBC minister in the Manmohan Singh cabinet. He was the only OBC. There was nobody else.
There was nobody else, you're right.
So, kuch to
mind you, minorities do not need permission from government to start institutions. Right? And they can have their own, admission processes and things. So, on one hand, you also get the ability, unlike the majority community, to start as many institutions as possible. When you choose not to do that, then you get reservation in this thing. So, Jains run SP Jain colleges everywhere throughout India. They don't ask for reservation, they give it to their this thing, and they also give Hindus and everyone admission out there as well. Okay? Number one. Number two, I think one thing that's coming out real clear is that the Congress party's core ideology simply has not changed despite what these two are saying. It is that the Gandhi family should retain power, hook or crook. Okay? Pehle Nehru did it anyway, he saw fit. Then Indira Gandhi did it anyway, she saw fit. Rajiv Gandhi did it anyway, he saw fit. I think what has happened is Rahul is probably smarter than we think. We just don't want to admit the cards that he's playing, which is there is severe resource competition right now. He knows he can't claw back the Hindu vote anymore. He is now stuck with a Muslim vote. This has become the SPIization of the Congress, where they are dependent. You look at
and they made a virtue out of it.
They made a virtue out of it. See, they're stuck out of the 52 seats they got. In the north, it only came from Punjab. I think they got some 9-10 seats from Punjab, which was the Sikh vote. The Jat Sikh vote, let's be clear about it, because the voting there is controlled completely by the Jat Sikhs. The second thing that they got was Tamil Nadu, 10.
And Kerala.
And Kerala about 19 out of the 20 seats. Kerala, the victory was entirely because of Muslim voting. Tamil Nadu, it was entirely because of the DMK's this thing, which is a very sort of a Christian-focused party. You know, then these come on record saying that he's a Christian and things like that. So you have essentially a Sikh, Tamil Christian, Muslim coalition. And your only real game right now is to preserve the flock. You can't afford to lose the flock because everybody knows the only way you can defeat the BJP now is to outflank them from the right. But if you pivot to the right, you're going to lose all these. So it's, like one in the bush, one in the hand is better than two in the bush kind of thing. I think that's the strategy they're working on. The problem now is it's just a retention strategy because they know they can't win. So you're hearing all those things about, how Congress is going to win by a huge majority. And
no, it's not just retain. It's not just hamara retain karo, unka divide bhi karo.
Unka divide bhi karo.
And that unka divide bhi karo is as much driven by political calculations as much as it is driven by exigencies and forces beyond political.
You remember when 2019 they
to finish. Since I was a kid, I have heard so many Congress leaders. They don't say it anymore. But I remember these conversations so distantly. I'm not going to name names, but these were very, very big people in the Congress. Used to have very unguarded conversations with my parents, which I hope, because they were secretaries to government, who would say things like, "Hey, Musalman hai, sadne do. Hamara kya lene dena? The Hindus should progress. Let them stay in the hovels where they are, in the slums where they are." Their entire strategy was allow the Muslim community to marginalize itself. Right. They did not want that community developing. And this is what Modi is changing. और वो देते भी हैं उनको और मुंह पे थूक भी पड़ता है. Whereas the Congress's whole strategy was, we will give it to those few feudal families that control the voting. The famous mullahs and things like that who control the voting. And the rest of the people can just rot. Okay? Which is the pattern of Muslim political power in the subcontinent, because if you look at it, what Muslim benefited in Bangladesh, what Muslim benefited in Pakistan? It just benefited some families in Bangladesh, many more families in Pakistan, and a few families here in India as well. Okay? So this has been there. It's a feudal accommodation strategy in that sense. And the division that they're doing is precisely because Hindutva. What does Hindutva do? Hindutva is political Hinduism, where your Hindu identity subsumes your caste identity. They want to bring up caste because they want to break that Hindu consolidation, right? It's desperate. I don't think it's working, but best of luck.
I don't know whether it's not working, because I think at the grassroots, 2 points I want to bring. One is about the Muslim one and the creme de la creme of Muslim society having benefited from policies and programs and affirmative action, whether in the subcontinent. And this isn't just post-independence, it's pre-independence too. It's the Ashrafis who have really benefited. You know, the Pasmandas have always not benefited. They continue to live in bastis, whether in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, anywhere that you see. And that is what Modi is trying to change. Yes, he might do that, and his core voter base will say, तुम जितना भी करो, तुमको ना वोट मिलेंगे और तुम्हारे मुंह पे थूकेंगे. That's what the hardcore Hindutva guys will tell.
Modi.
Will say that to Modi, and will. But Modi is determined, it seems to me, that he's not going to get deterred from these kind of accusations or these kind of hurling, because he knows that he carries the support of that core voter base regardless of these moves, which he knows is important for the country, which might in the short term not yield political benefits, but it's important to carry the entire country with you, not just a section which is voting for you. So he has that larger perspective, and hats off to him that he has that larger perspective for the country, because we need that larger perspective for the country, that not just your co-voter base, you need to carry people who might not vote for you, who might not value what you're doing today. But if their lot improves, they see it someday, doesn't matter if they don't right now. That I admire. The other one I forgot.
May I just come in very briefly on this? You see, Modi ji has said this on many occasions, and especially when he's addressing us also. He said, "Sarkar vote se banti hai, desh sabse chalta hai." तो शायद कोई वोट दे ना दे, देश चलाने में तो उनकी सहायता हमें चाहिए. So therefore the idea is that whether they vote for us, Modi is not sending Sultana toilet because she will vote for us. Modi is sending Sultana the toilet because she is a Bharatiya citizen who deserves the same standard of living as Smita. तो सुल्ताना और स्मिता दोनों के घर टॉयलेट बनेगा, अभिजीत और असदुद्दीन दोनों को राशन मिलेगा, उसमें कोई भेदभाव नहीं होगा. अब अभिजीत वोट करे, असदुद्दीन बहक जाए, भड़क जाए या भड़काए, उससे कोई समस्या नहीं. पर मैं एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ. I today the Congress is not even catering to any kind of section of Muslim society which has some kind of, I would say, intellectual or whatever. They are catering to the base Kattarpanthi. Please tell me, if they were genuinely concerned or they wanted all the Muslim vote also, they would support Teen Talaq removal. By 50% of Muslims are women. And 50% of that community wants Teen Talaq gone. It's not there in Islamic nations. Why did Congress not be the first one to say, Modi ji, तीन तलाक हटाना चाहिए? हमारी मुस्लिम बहनें बोल रही है, ये सुल्ताना बोल रही है, ये आयशा बोल रही है, तीन तलाक हटाइए. आप हटाते क्यों नहीं? They should have put pressure if they were really wanting Sultana and Aisha's vote. They don't want Sultana and Aisha's vote. They only want Kattarpanthi's vote, and therefore they are reduced to only the Kattarpanthi. That's what they capitulated in front of for Shah Banu. And today also, when they don't go to Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha, or when they say Ram banam Shiv karna hai, or when they are making all these kind of statements targeting Ram Mandir, which Sam Pitroda also made, they are all doing it as a design to cater to that Kattarpanthi section, and they will continue to do that. And there are two reasons for it: not just the galvanizing of the vote bank, but it is also, on the other hand, to create divisions in society from which they can benefit. And if India is divided, I'm sure everybody here who's watching this podcast also will understand that if India doesn't go from 10th to 3rd spot of the economy, whom does it benefit? If India has a meek response to 2611, doesn't go ghar mein ghuske nahi marta, whom does it benefit? We must ask these questions. That Congress in this election, it is Congress plus. It is mission and vision for India, and Congress's division plus politics, and for who it is, you have to add that and come to a conclusion about that.
On the one hand, you have, they're talking about किस तरह से minorities को appease करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. They're trying to create this block vote, and at the same time, they're not really interested in the development of the Muslim community. But they're still wooing the Muslim community very aggressively. At the same time, you have the statement of Prime Minister Modi, where it was a very different kind of statement that he's made. I don't remember him making a statement like this, where he was very open with the Muslim community recently, and he said, look, I really would like to urge the Muslim community to introspect.
On Times Now Navika came to him.
So he said, आप क्या करना चाहते हैं? क्या आप इसी गलत फहमी में रहना चाहते हैं कि नहीं, हम ही डिसाइड करेंगे गद्दी पे कौन बैठेगा, हमारे मर्जी से चलेगी गवर्नमेंट, या फिर आप इस देश के मेन स्ट्रीम से जुड़ना चाहते हैं, हमारे साथ मिलकर देश को आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं? That was a very sort of unique appeal. And I don't know if maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if you remember Modi ji saying something like that before. It was a very direct, almost confrontation to the Muslim community.
It was very direct. I think it was the first time any Prime Minister said it. I think he was reminding them, A, that they no longer have a veto. It wasn't the making of the government, rather it was the veto over decisions that they wielded. The street veto, remember, which is gone. Because remember, the tool of Muslim political negotiation in South Asia was always street violence. Ever since 1857, that has been the case. Well, it took a while for it to crystallize after 1857 because the nobility lost their nobleness, or whatever you want to call it. So it became the tool of political negotiation, gone. So they are now stuck in an area where they have to decide. They have to be, it's such a bad analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. They need to be like Khalistanis in Canada. See, they will give their support to the liberals mostly, but then they also entice Pierre Poilievre and the conservatives by promising them, you know, if you should let go of us, etc., etc. The problem here is the Sunni bank. Let's be clear about it, because the Shias have gone past that. Be it the Jafris, who are all, that's the 12er Shias, the Iran denomination, who are all closet BJP supporters in Kashmir, to the Bohris who the Sayyidina tells their followers to come out and go to Modi rallies in Egypt and everywhere and whatever, to the Ismailis like our friend here, who don't, I mean, in most cases, they out-Hindu the Hindu. You know, when they're welcoming the Aga Khan I've seen, you know, you should see, His Excellency Aga Khan comes to Houston. They'll be doing the Garbha to welcome the Aga Khan out there. Okay. So you're like, bhai,
culturally, you know.
Right.
Culturally, they're completely this thing. So, usko chhod ke, we're focusing very specifically on Sunnis out here. And the problem out there is, the interests of the vast majority, the Pasmandas, will be served only by balancing like the Khalistanis. But the leadership interests are not served that way, because if the population balances, Modi is no longer willing to play that game where you get the benefits and the people don't get the benefits. He's like, tere ko nahi milega, niche walon ko milega. So see, they are not incentivized. So they will not allow that pivoting to happen at all, because Modi has not incentivized them for that pivoting. But if he incentivizes them, it means that you go back to the feudalization of politics, right? So it's one of those catch-22 situations where if Modi does it, it's repeating all the mistakes of the past. If he doesn't do it, the Sunni community will not pivot towards him. The hope is that at some point the Sunni community realizes what's gone wrong, but I doubt that's ever going to happen, because, you know, this is a bit like Canada voting for Trudeau, or Venezuela going on voting for Hugo Chavez and Maduro. You know, when you're stuck in shit, there's very little you can do.
No, I'm not that pessimistic. Just like the Hindu vote is not a consolidated unit. It broke at one point of time. Right? It is, even today, you can see the signs of the Muslim vote also breaking up.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't see the Muslims voting as one unit anywhere. Right now, maybe, okay, we don't go with Modi, or we don't go with the BJP, but they could not have got the kind of numbers that they did in 2019 without a certain section of Muslims voting. And, you know, like the Muslim women, they have voted against what their fathers, brothers, or whatever. They may not speak about it. There is a silent, that chup chap kamal chap. There is a silent vote which goes, because they realize that their condition is improving, and somewhere economics will play out. Somewhere things will play out, and I think this whole Muslim appeasement, what some might call it, or Muslim outreach, some might call it, whatever you want to term it, by the BJP or by Mr. Modi, which is happening. He's got a section of his bureaucracy working on it. I've met with them. They have got intellectuals coming in, talking. And, you know, people who really want to improve the condition of the community. And if this is something which he has on the long run, has a goal for the next 15 years to improve the condition, I am saying hats off to whoever is working on this, because they work against all odds.
But, you know, first of all, I may or may not agree with entire characterization by Abhijit. But having said that, why is it being seen as such a eye-opener now that Modi is doing this. Modi has always done this. Just look at Gujarat.
Gujarat.
Absolutely.
For instance, in Gujarat, the condition of Muslims, and I told you, on all important indicators is far better than national average, whether it's education, whether it's financial inclusion, whether it's their ability to access various services. It is far better, and it is better than the condition of Muslims in West Bengal. And Modi is not doing this because he has to uplift Muslims.
Yeah.
Modi is doing it because he has to uplift Indians.
Yes. You know, now, in this, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to talk about this. In Gujarat, when I also went to report now, I also saw it from that, you know, that angle ki, देखो ना मोदी राज में हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम्स कांट गेट मैरिड बिकॉज दे लिव सेपरेटली. उनका सोसाइटी अलग है. एक हिंदू सोसाइटी है जहाँ पे सोसाइटी इन द सेंस रेजिडेंशियल बिल्डिंग, दे आर नॉट इंटरमिंगलिंग. गरबा में दे डोंट अलाउ. The point is that at that time the admin, one chap told me, he says कोई बात नहीं ना, शादी नहीं होती. मुसलमान में शादी करता है, हिंदू में शादी करता है. आप लोग जो दिल्ली से आते हैं ना, you are seeing it from that rose tinted pictures. अगर वो शादी करेंगे, it is difficult for them. हम उनको रोकते नहीं है. तुम जाके बॉम्बे में रह लो, तुम जाके दुबई में रह लो, because more important for us is that Modi is building that flyover. Modi is building that mall out there. जब वो flyover बनेगा, तो जो पान की दुकान जहाँ पे कोई नहीं जाता क्योंकि वो गंदे नाली के ऊपर उसकी पान की दुकान है, वो जाके that flyover is coming ना, वो flyover में जब रुकेंगे लोग to eat at that little stall which is offering vada pav, they will eat vada pav, they will have pan and then they will go. तो जो वो बंदा 500 रुपए दिन के कमाता था, वो कमाएगा कितना कमाएगा? वो कम से कम 5,000 रुपए कमाएगा, because they are stopping by. Those big cars are stopping because of that flyover which is coming, or that highway which is being built, or that mall which is the mall is not selling pan. There's no pan की दुकान in the mall. वो खा के बाहर आके पान खा रहे हैं. वो पान वाला जो है वो मुसलमान है. What is he thinking कि धंधा मिल रहा है? कोई बात नहीं अगर मेरा बेटा हिंदू लड़की से शादी नहीं कर सकता या मेरी बेटी हिंदू लड़के से शादी नहीं कर सकती. To hell with the शादी. शादी इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट. और अगर इतनी जरूरत है शादी की, कहीं और जाके रह लो. सो यू नो, फॉर देम दे आर थिंकिंग धंधा. एंड व्हाई इज धंधा इंपॉर्टेंट? एक जनरेशन धंधा करेगा ना, वो अपनी बच्चों को पढ़ाई करा सकता है. वो पान वाला यूपीएससी के लिए ट्रेनिंग कर सकता है अपने बच्चों की. दे गो फॉरवर्ड इकोनॉमिकली. सो यू नो, many of us city bred journalists think in a different way. It's necessary to understand what Modi did in Gujarat. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, so see, there are a couple of things. Why Prime Minister said what he said on Navika's and Sushant's interview to Times Now. Problem is that the leaders of the so-called leaders or the vote bank ठेकेदार्स of this community have given a very curious situation to the Muslims. On one hand, their narrative is 800 साल आपने राज किया. So superiority complex. हम 800 साल राज करते थे. सेकेंड हैंड नैरेटिव इज कि भाई आप आरक्षण आपको धर्म के आधार पर मिलना चाहिए. सो सुपीरियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स एंड इंफीरियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स एट द सेम टाइम इज बीइंग गिवन. आप 800 साल राज किए तो फिर आपको आज आरक्षण क्यों चाहिए भाई? भाई जैन के तो इतने सारे प्रिंसिपैलिटीज नहीं थे, कोई और समाज और धर्म के इतने प्रिंसिपल, आपके तो नवाब, सुल्तान, राजा, बादशाह, मुगल सब थे. तो आपकी ये हालत की किसने? वही जो आपको अभी बोल रहा है. तो मोदी जी सेइंग कि वो जैसे है ना, फंडा क्लियर करो अपना. जो आपको बोल रहा है आप 800 साल राज भी किए और आज आपको मुस्लिम आरक्षण मिलना चाहिए, वही आपका सबसे बड़ा ठगने वाला है. इसी ने आपको ठगा है. तो उसका चक्कर छोड़ो और आओ भाजपा के कार्यालय में और देखो. उन्होंने बोला आकर कब्जा कर दो भाजपा का कार्यालय. ही यूज दोज वर्ड्स कि कब्जा कर लो ना आप मेरा कार्यालय और बैठो वहां पे, देखो भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता क्या करते. मैं भी तो भाजपा के मुख्य कार्यालय में जाता हूं. वहां पे मेरा कमरा है 17 नंबर का. वहां पे क्या होता है मुसलमानों के साथ आप खुद आकर देख लो और तब आपको समझ में आएगा. ये नैरेटिव पहले अनुसूचित जाति समाज के लिए भी यही इस्तेमाल किया जाता था. ये भाजपा जो है ना, ये ब्राह्मण बनियों की पार्टी है. हाँ. ये ब्राह्मण बनियों की पार्टी है. अब आप फैक्ट्स निकालिए.
यू हैव एन ओबीसी प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंड एसटी.
अरे सुनिए, ये ओबीसी प्राइम मिनिस्टर सिर्फ 2014 से नहीं, जब से भाजपा का जन्म हुआ है 1980 से लेकर 2024 तक, एक एनालिसिस आप लोग कीजिए कि भाजपा ने कितने ओबीसी मुख्यमंत्री बनाए और कांग्रेस ने अपनी जिंदगी में कितने ओबीसी मुख्यमंत्री बनाए. कांग्रेस का एवरेज, हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स की एक स्टडी थी, दे हैव मेड अबाउट 15%. द बीजेपी विच इज ब्राह्मण बनिया पार्टी apparently has made 30% plus, and we have made Kalyan Singh at a time when it was not considered to be very good. Uma Bharti ji, बाबूलाल गौर जी,
Yes.
शिवराज चौहान जी, उस समय पर जब आप ओबीसी जानते नहीं थे, आपके पिताजी ओबीसी और मंडल कमीशन का विरोध करते थे, तब हमारे मुख्यमंत्री ओबीसी मोदी जी 2001 में बने भाई। अब आप नहीं जानते हो।
Brahmin Baniya party, I must tell you that, you know, when 2014, when the party came to power, all the journalistic crowd of, you know, Delhi was like, their intellectual bench strength is so low, so low. And they continue to say that when the other side forget about intellectual, their bench is khali. Whether non-intellectual bench hai hi nahi koi, you know. But still, and then you have Chidambaram ji writing in an op-ed last week, last Sunday, he writes in an op-ed, the hero of 2020, Lok Sabha 2024 is the manifesto. But is the Congress manifesto. He says that's the hero. I mean, halfway through the election, I mean, halfway bhi nahi hua. Halfway through the election, this man who has written the manifesto, apne aap hi bol rahe hain ki mera manifesto.
But has he said hero for whom?
2024, but for the
has
country.
Has he said hero for Congress
country,
or hero for BJP?
For the BJP, because BJP on April 21st, after the Congress manifesto came on, made that the hero. But it's like, you know, the kids who say ki science project, mera solar system सबसे best था, क्योंकि मैंने solar system.
नहीं, एक बार एक पैनलिस्ट ने मुझे बोला, आपको पता है हमारा कांग्रेस का मैनिफेस्टो 40 लाख डाउनलोड हुआ। तो मैंने बोला 40 लाख into 5 2 करोड़ वोट गया। जिसने भी डाउनलोड किया है वो पढ़ने के बाद आपको पता ही वोट नहीं दे रहा है।
डाउनलोड
This is like yesterday was actually the biggest setback for the BJP in the election campaign. Sam Pitroda's resignation has cost the BJP at least 15 seats.
At least.
He was the third or fourth most important campaigner.
We'll have to go find Manishankar Iyer now.
And I honestly tell you, tomorrow...
Just to interrupt you, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has already said, I agree with Sam Pitroda, there are different races in India.
He's competing for number 5 in BJP. I'm telling you, the day Rahul Gandhi resigns, the Congress has a chance of winning the election.
Winning the election.
Yeah. Priyanka Gandhi is the crowds that she is drawing. You can see the facial expression, you know, on the people who are listening to her as compared to with Rahul Gandhi. If you attend Rahul Gandhi's rallies, it is completely different from what Priyanka Gandhi's rally is. So, but of course, those who come for the rally, not necessarily they vote. Those who are the beneficiaries of government programs and policies, not necessarily they're going to vote. Somehow that swing voter, when he goes to the, or she goes to the polling station, pata nahi kya jata hai, you know, meri bidadari ka, isliye main vote kar. You don't know what works, frankly. You know, all post facto analysis is, oh, there was a Modi wave, oh, there was an Indira wave, oh, there was, you know, India Shining didn't work. It's all post facto. At that time, nobody knows what will work.
See, it's very funny that today, when we are in debates, and most of the times Abhijit and Smita are also part of the panel, those people who are predicting that BJP Madhya Pradesh में साफ होने वाली है, छत्तीसगढ़ में साफ होने वाली है, they are coming and saying अब 24 में साफ होने वाली है. So I said, sir, आपने मध्य प्रदेश छत्तीसगढ़ में क्या प्रेडिक्ट किया था? तो they said नहीं, वो छोड़ दो अब आप. हमने तेलंगाना से ही प्रेडिक्ट किया था. अरे तेलंगाना तो सबको पता था.
Do you guys remember in 2019, Yogendra Yadav ji made a tweet that went very viral where he's saying कि there is no Modi wave, सुपड़ा साफ होने वाला है. And then I think a week ago he made the very same tweet. कि please discard what I said in 2019. सुपड़ा साफ होने वाला.
Let's get to him, you know. Okay, fine. He makes mistake after mistake after mistake. But television studios love him. They still call him as an analyst. This I have seen consistently with television channels, that when you see a person gets one election wrong, two elections, a reporter, supposedly a reporter or an op-ed writer, political analyst, they're getting 15, 20 elections wrong. How do you still bring them as an expert? मतलब हमारे jobs में, if we see one cameraman who's effed up a coverage, he's benched. कि sorry, तुमने white balancing नहीं किया, तुमने फोकस में shaky zoom का बैठ जा.
Madam, 1 second. If they start applying that standard, Rahul Gandhi would have to quit first. आप कौन सी पार्टी के, मतलब पार्टी का नेता accountability नहीं कर रहे, समर्थक कर दिया.
I'm just saying news channel.
I'm
not talking about political
parties. अरे तो प्रोफेशनल और पारिवारिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अंतर है
ना. आपकी पार्टी में भी देखो, Modi was to lose 2 elections.
All my elections.
Do you think Modi will stay as Prime Minister? Look at Rahul Gandhi. How many elections? In spite of that, he's PM. So, you know, there is a difference. Or like Akhilesh Yadav, ever since he has taken over from his father, he has not won any election. But he's their head. He's their chief minister candidate, PM candidate, everything. Sorry.
I haven't gotten a single election prediction right. I only got West Bengal state election prediction right.
I don't
where I
predict
said 2/3 majority for Mamta Di,
Ah.
and I got the Trump 2016 one right. Uske baad mera sabka sab wrong hai.
But since we're on this,
even
point,
to address Shehzad specifically, even I predicted 3-1 for Congress in the last.
Listen, and I was the only one to say it out there with my neck sticking out that we are winning Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. But nobody believed me back then. But now, and I'm telling you now, 2024, and take it in writing, is going to be the most historic and decisive victory for BJP. Forget NDA. It is going to be an unbelievable victory
तो
for
फिर
BJP.
इतने लोगों को लेने की क्या जरूरत है जो अजीब गरीब लोग आ रहे हैं?
स्मिता जी,
Sorry, but
That is a point that people make कि आप इतने सारे कांग्रेसी ले लोगे
ये
तो कांग्रेसी
आनंद
बन जाओगे।
रंगनाथन यहाँ ना भी होना तो आनंद रंगनाथन का सवाल आ जाता है। ये आनंद रंगनाथन अपना सवाल मुझसे डायरेक्ट पूछो ना आप, ये मीडियम से मत पूछिए।
उसने मैसेज किया मेरे को सुबह।
I know exactly what his question is.
मतलब very sweet people, but
Smita ji, I want to ask you a question.
Sweet people,
Smita ji, I
but-
want to ask you a question. What is your opinion of Shri Krishna?
see, no,
What is your opinion of Shri Krishna?
why? What does that have to do?
You have a good opinion or a bad opinion?
Yeah, good opinion.
Shri Krishna took the help of Jujutsu from the Kauravas to make the Pandavas. Would you say he was against dharma?
No.
देखो ऐसा है, सुनिए let me just complete this. रामायण युग से महाभारत युग में ही एवोल्यूशन आप देखिए। रामायण में प्रभु श्री राम मर्यादा जो थे मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम थे, और प्रभु श्री कृष्ण जो है वो लीला पुरुषोत्तम।
He's this
मैं आपको बता रहा
Shri
हूँ,
Ravishankar,
नहीं श्री रविशंकर नहीं है।
and
देखिए
some
जो राम और कृष्ण को और रामायण और
once you
महाभारत
go
को
into that, now you can justify anything.
नहीं जस्टिफिकेशन की बात नहीं है। स्मिता जी एक सेकंड, मैं आपको एक बहुत सीरियस पॉइंट
और फिर आप वापस आर्ग्यू भी नहीं कर
नहीं,
सकते
नहीं
because
करोगे, क्या करोगी
श्री
मैं?
श्री कृष्ण नहीं पसंद
देखिए,
आता।
let me, it's not about that. It is about
I'll become the Sam Petruda of the show.
no. I'm not making you Sam Petruda. I am saying
Smita
something.
Prakash says, I don't like Shri Krishna.
अरे point खत्म करने दो बेचारे।
All I'm trying to say
Sorry.
is that Prabhu Shri Ram had a way of dealing with a situation during Ramayana, which was zero compromise on the stated principles that he had. That is a template. Prabhu Shri Krishna has a different template. While Prabhu Shri Krishna has never broken any rules, the rules of war were bent by him. Now my simple question to you is that had he not done that, Kurukshetra would not have turned out the way it turned out for the Pandavas. I am saying that it is not a black and white situation. Sure. To say, now to answer Smita specifically. Smita ji, our vote bank or a vote share in 2009 was a few crore votes. Today it has expanded to, in 2024, it will expand to 40% plus, right? Who are these voters first? Weren't they Congress voters who have now become BJP voters? By your logic, why we are taking Congress leaders, we should say no to Congress voters also. No, let me complete. Should we say no to Congress voters? अगर वोटर को ना नहीं बोल रहे हैं, तो वोटर को रिप्रेजेंट करने वाले लीडर को ना क्यों बोले? वोटर का लीडर होता है ना। हम पार्टी ऑफ एक्सपेंशन है। स्मिता जी, जब पार्टी एक्सपैंड करती है ना, उसमें कई सारे वोट भी जुड़ते हैं और उस वोट को लीड करने वाले लोग भी जुड़ते हैं। इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम लोग खुद असेस नहीं करते, हम सबका असेसमेंट करते हैं और हम एक्सपैंड करना चाहते हैं।
Bhai, if I'm not mistaken, about 30% of the tickets have been given to new migrants into the party, so which is okay if they have winnability and they're going to bring in the voters. Okay, fine. That the results will show. But what also happens is that there is a kind of a dilution, which if BJP is going to be the big tent, like the Congress used to be in the 70s and in the 80s when bring in people from all other parties. And if BJP is going to be the big tent when we head for the next 10 years, fine, that's going to happen. But there is going to be a dilution which may or may not be good for the party. But it's a natural thing which is going to happen there. When they get people of different ideologies into the party, kahin na kahin that seepage will happen of ideas from the parties that they have brought. They have come into. It's going to come.
No.
Let me
state one fact
quickly. I have not seen that dilution happen.
That's what I'm saying.
Because the core Hindutva ideology is a rock solid. If anything, that anti-caste message of Hindutva is getting even more consolidated. What is happening is, in fact, that the new migrants who used to say Baniya Brahman casteist party are now saying, no, Hindutva is the antidote to caste and all the ills of caste and things like that. what we're seeing is people who used to make fun of Ram Lalla and Shri Krishna are now coming and saying Ram Ram, Jai Shri Krishna and things like that.
Also, Abhijit, like, you know, in our kind of urbanized families that we had, many of us have been brought up with these Hindutva things, right? Our grandmothers, Hindutva, Hindu, whatever you want to call it. Grandmothers taught us bhajans, we read Amar Chitra Kathas, we read Bhagavad Gita, we did all this. Somewhere when it got, you know, when you go to college and all that, everybody turns a little left when you go. So that goes down. You stop wearing those symbols, whether it's a pottu, whether it is your Rudraksh, whether you stop doing that. But when you get into politics and when that happens, it's just natural for inherently functional.
Let me just address dilution point. I think
one thing. See, there is also a juxtaposition here where people are finally proud to be Hindus. You know, so it isn't just
unfashionable to be.
So it is not just the need to pose. It's actually coming out of the closet in the sense, number one. And number two, before I see to Shehzad, is, you know, this whole thing where the dilution could have happened in terms of nepotism and corruption is not happening. Because, you know, it's being so tightly controlled. Do you know how many people I know who switched in hoping for greener pastures in the BJP, complaining ki paisa banane ka mauka nahi mil raha hai, things like that. So, in fact, what's happening is, I also thought for a long time that the Congressization of the BJP was going to happen. It is in fact not happening. It is the BJPization of the migrants that is happening, and not the other way around.
You know, picking up from exactly that line, and you know, he's articulated so well. Smitaji, this dilution point, forget dilution of BJP. Solution for nation is coming forward. I'll tell you how. Look at where the central pole of politics was in 2004. कोई पार्टी छोड़ता था तो वो बोलता था कि मैं भाजपा के सांप्रदायिक पॉलिटिक्स से तंग आकर सेकुलरिज्म को मजबूत करने के लिए कांग्रेस जोड़ रहा हूं. ठीक है, आज 2024 में when the person is leaving, the central pole of our politics has shifted so much कि they are saying कांग्रेस के सनातन और हिंदू विरोधी सांप्रदायिक पॉलिटिक्स को छोड़कर मैं असली सेकुलरिज्म की जो परिभाषा है उसको जोड़ कर रहा हूं. और
coming back to the roots, that's all.
And let me also give you another example. In around 2004, before 2004, Vajpayee for a long time was Sampradayak. Okay, BJP was untouchable. Then Vajpayee became secular, Advani ji became Sampradayak. Then Advani ji became secular and Modi ji became Sampradayak. Now, आगे का मैं नहीं बोलना चाहता हूँ. मोदी जी को ये सेकुलर एक्सेप्ट कर दे.
2014 में when they won, there was this media, you know, they have that meeting, the media kind of a thing, where the top rung of the BJP leadership invites the media. तो हम लोग सब बैठे हुए थे. I was also sitting in one of the rows. Behind me was this very famous anchor who was sitting. And
name.
No,
she
has been very, very anti-BJP all along. Was chup karna, and was sitting behind me, and so we, you know, all the top rung of the BJP sat and all that, and हम भी सुन रहे हैं कि अब क्या होने वाला है, and everybody was like, oh, media is going to get the axe and ये देखना क्या होने वाला है, and you know, like doomsday scenario for media, and everybody is worried, right, that oh my god, what's going to happen, like without access, what are you, how do you cover the beat? So everybody is sitting there, and this person sitting there, saying, BJP का तो change, हुलिया ही बदल गया, you know, everything is changed, looking very sad, saying, where were the leaders like Advani and Vajpayee? You know, Advani ji's that secular aura of Advani ji, and now you have these people sitting, and I was thinking, I've covered the Rath Yatra with you. I know what you used to report. I've covered that part, and you know, but मैं सुन रही हूँ, and I'm thinking that भगवान मुझे कभी ऐसे मत बनाना.
और मैं एक गारंटी देना चाहता हूँ स्मिता जी, जब आप हमारी इसी प्रकार की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस 2034, 2039 में कवर करोगे और वो आपके पीछे बैठोगी, तो वो ये बोलेगी मोदी, योगी, अमित शाह बहुत सेकुलर.
कहाँ गए मोदी जैसे स्टेट्समैन?
अमित शाह बहुत सेकुलर थे. ये वो यही बोलने वाले.
वो सब कुछ भूल जाएंगे. It was like, you know, inshallah, if we were alive still. But this is why I like sitting right at the back, you know, because if you sit in the front, you don't hear this, because everybody's got their lips sealed. When you sit at the back, you hear all this and you think, Bhagwan, kya matlab, you know.
I will make a prediction. In 2035, one of these jokers is going to write a piece saying Modi Mother Teresa के अवतार हैं.
Mandela of India.
The Mandela.
Because in
Mandela of
2014,
India.
these people still thought, some of them still thought that Modi won't remember what you did when you were reporting, you know. So they thought ki like everybody who becomes a prime minister, like Vajpayee, when you became a prime minister, Delhi media will be absorbed and they will reach out to you because you are the purveyors of how this city works, and you are the intermediaries without who your message, the prime minister needs you. And Vajpayee ji was given the same advice, and Vajpayee ji co-opted that same media. So everybody thought जैसे वाजपेयी ने co-opt किया, जैसे अडवाणी जी ने co-opt किया.
Right.
Even Advani ji co-opted that media. So जैसे अडवाणी जी ने co-opt किया, वाजपेयी ने co-opt किया, अमित शाह मोदी क्या चीज है? They don't even know how Delhi functions.
Right.
They are outsiders. They will need us to, you know, handhold them through this. They rewrote the rules of engagement. All of us had to adapt to it. You don't want to adapt and you say my way or the highway. You can keep छाती पिटोing and do your work.
शंभव जी, ऐसा था एक समय पर तो ये फोन पे कौन मंत्री होगा तय करते थे. अब फोन पे सोर्सेस से भी पता नहीं चलता कि कौन सा मंत्री कहाँ रहेगा.
सोर्सेस को खुद नहीं पता
होता. तो अभी तो कोई बोलता नहीं है. एक बड़े चैनल के ओनर ने एक बार बोला था कि मोदी जी आपने तो हमारी दुकान ही बंद कर दी है, अब तो कुछ लीक ही नहीं होता. तो फिर उस दिन मोदी जी उन्हीं के मंच पे थे, उन्होंने बोला आज के लिए तो मैं आपकी दुकान चला देता हूँ, बाकी के दिन का नहीं.
2014 we would know who was going to become what minister about 4-5 hours prior. Forget knowing who would be sworn in.
Petroleum minister, finance minister, everybody in Bombay knew.
We knew who was going
because
to
decision was not made at 7
portfolio. But more importantly, what used to happen was we could predict exactly what policy shifts were going to happen because of a certain appointment. Right? And we knew this within 72 hours. Before or after the minister being sworn in. Okay? Today, even after 72 months possibly, we are not able to figure out who's taking the decisions, what the decisions are being taken, etc.
Yeah. Last couple of things I want to ask you guys before I let you go. There's one thing that I forgot to ask Shahzad last time we spoke, but I want to put it to all of you, is what do you make of the latest sort of masterstroke that's happened that's really bamboozled the BJP, where Rahul Gandhi, everybody expected him to run from Amethi, but in one fell swoop, he's been able to make Smriti Irani completely irrelevant, and he's moved to Raebareli to contest. Not only is he going to win Raebareli, but he's also going to completely make Smriti Irani irrelevant. So what do you make of that masterstroke according to Jairam Rameshji?
So, see, this is a bit like, you know, Shiva gave this one, I forget the Asura's name. She gave him the wish. I think it was the Rohini avatar who finally ये करो फाइज कि जिसके हाथ पर भी जिसके माथे पर भी तुम हाथ डालोगे वो मर जाएगा. ठीक है? And then he chases Shiva itself, and Vishnu has to take the Rohini avatar, and she does the dance where she, in one of the mudras, the hand comes over the head, and the Asura kills himself. Bhasmasura, was it? Now, what happens is, Smriti Irani is like that. If you consider Shiva Vishnu irrelevant, then Smriti Irani is irrelevant. I pray for this kind of irrelevance, where you make a prime ministerial candidate pick up his langot and run away to the next constituency.
But you know, when they called it master stroke, I said, "ये इनका master stroke ऐसा है कि
something Gary Kasparov would have been proud of."
Well, he articulated that ये तुक्का लगा तो तीर है, दूध फटा तो पनीर है. मतलब ये इस प्रकार का master stroke. They didn't intend it to be any kind of stroke. It was a hard stroke. If at all any stroke, it's a joke. I mean, imagine that this man is now feeling uncomfortable. First, he went from Amethi to Wayanad. अब वायनाड में भी स्थिति ठीक नहीं है. वायनाड में स्थिति ठीक नहीं है, इसीलिए वो रायबरेली आ रहे हैं. और अगर उनकी थोड़ी सी भी उनके पास वो श्योरिटी होती कि अमेठी में उनकी कोई जगह बची है, तो वो फैमिली के मैनेजर से चुनाव नहीं लड़वाते. उन्होंने फैमिली के मैनेजर या रिटेनर से चुनाव. अच्छा, जब ANI गया था, KL शर्मा को अनाउंस कर दिया 7:30 बजे या 7:45 बजे लिस्ट आई, तो ये ANI वाले पहुंच गए. सर आपका आ गया, नाम आ गया. KL शर्मा वाज लाइक नहीं, अभी बात नहीं हूं, मेरा नाम कहां से आ गया? नहीं सर, आ गया, ऑफिशियल लिस्ट है. तो वो उसका प्राइसलेस रिएक्शन था
You
कि मुझे क्यों तोड़ा.
Sense of deja vu, you know, because what happened with Sharma ji, I'm telling Sharma ji only, what happened with Sharma ji is exactly what happened when Narasimha Rao was picked to become the Prime Minister. So our guy, typical our guy, in fact somebody called the ANI cameraman as a Suprabhatam. Subah subah pahunch jate hain. So he reached out there, knocked on the door, and you know, he Narasimha Rao and Ganji and Dhoti, you know, he opened the door and he said, "Sir, soundbite chahiye, aap Pradhan Mantri banne wale hain." So he said, no. He didn't shut the door. He ran down the corridor, and our cameraman with the light is running behind him. Sir. You know, but the man didn't know that he had been picked to be the Prime Minister. Same way, and he said, "Yeah, switch it off, please." And then he went and, you know, looked pretty and came out, and he said, and there were no cell phones, right? So he went and made a call, and is this true, and has this happened, and things. So he said, yeah. So the same way was
but I will Smita ji, Narasimha Rao was such a consummate politician. I think he played. I think you can't compare him to.
He didn't have somebody to open the door for him.
That's exactly how he was.
Had retired.
He had people backing him for prime ministership. He didn't have people opening his door. And that so while I. Maybe that happened, but I would say that Narasimha Rao knew exactly what was happening, and he knew exactly how to play the role. That, oh, अच्छा, मैं बन गया. Oh, मेरी 5 साल minority सरकार भी चल गई.
I would suspect. But what I'm saying is the visuals I got, you know, for me, sitting in the newsroom, the visuals I got with Sharma ji was the same thing which I got with Narasimha Rao. It was exactly that. But, you know,
because Narasimha Rao was obviously fighting many other people who wanted in the Congress to become Prime Minister. He rallied the support behind him. So he did it very quick, and he gave the impression that he is not going to even survive 5 years.
He was.
That's why nobody was opening his door, because he wanted to give the impression.
And everything, hard bypass, he was not. He was a very clever politician, no doubt.
All the reporters on the ground, well, several of them told me they'd already seen the papers with Rahul's name filled out for Amethi and things. At 3 p.m. he came out and threw a tantrum, apparently. They went into a huddle. And finally, it was only decided late.
So this was not premeditated?
It was not.
Wow.
They decided late at night to shift the constituency to Rai Bareli because Rai Bareli belongs to the head of the family. Amethi is not head of the family.
Yeah.
Rai Bareli is head of the family. And the problem there was that he had to be then coaxed, cajoled. Sonia had to enter the whole thing and force him to then contest from there. And Amethi, they were very clear, was not going to go to Robert Vadra. If you had given it to him, he would have happily taken that also. But they're very clear, nothing will go to the Vadras. So it was, even Hamara chai coffee dene wala is higher than a Vadra. Was the message that was given to Robert.
Yeah, it was leaked. That chai coffee wala was leaked to one person
it was
in the
by
media.
The Congress.
Really? Who tweeted
Everybody
that
saw this drama.
Yeah.
People saw and heard Rahul throwing the tantrum over Amethi.
Congress's chai wala is good enough for Amethi. Wow.
They said that. The Congress leaked it. It wasn't the BJP that made up chai wala. And you know, people in Amethi, there is footage, you can go see it. Congress workers in Amethi were crying ki aapne kaise hamare
But he's a decent guy. The poor
he's a very decent guy. But who put out the chai wala story? It was this one, because they wanted a second master stroke saying, dekho humne chai wala ke khilaf humne chai wala khada.
But you know, frankly, Rai Bareli, actually Amethi has a deeper connection with the Gandhis historically compared to Rai Bareli. Just to get the factual situation.
And of course, dono Singapore of India hai na?
Yeah. But I was coming to that. The larger issue that we must address, or we must actually touch upon, is that, you know, this democracy where we have, and all these big anchors also say, the family bastion, the what are the other words they use for Amethi?
Strongholds.
The guard of the Gandhi Parivar. What have they done in 50-55 years? It took a Smriti Irani to go and give 4 lakh people toilets. It took a Smriti Irani to give 1.5 lakh houses, or 3.5 lakh people connections, or Kisan, the Kisan Samman Nidhi, or a dialysis center, or a collectorate office in Amethi. So it was back of the beyond. Even now, look at Rai Bareli and look at Varanasi. Just do a comparison. Rai Bareli, as you said, head of the Congress, most powerful person in the Congress. Look at the state of Rai Bareli. Look at the state of Varanasi.
Look at sci-fi, no? Look at Baramati. Forget Varanasi. Right? Look, if it's wrong to compare it with the Prime Minister, look, when was Sharad Pawar Chief Minister? How many years back? How many years back a minister? Still Baramati? Look at what Nagpur has become. What did Gadkari ji do? What did Mulayam Singh Yadav do for his constituency? It is so wrong that these VIP constituencies, supposedly Gad and Bastion and all that, they have kept them as the armpits of the country.
And sci-fi, the only thing that would happen was that sci-fi festival where all the jhumkas and thumkawalas would be brought down.
But yeah, so the question also needs to be asked is that I can imagine that Robert Vadra, obviously nobody took him seriously for obvious reasons. But what happened with Priyanka Vadra?
Yeah, why not her?
Who vetoed that decision? Who was feeling insecure about it? And she's saying that I want to contest I want to make the party strong across the country. So then Rahul Gandhi is your main leader. Why are you tying him out down in Raebareli? मतलब उनका भी तो जो इतना enigma है उसको पूरे देश में
say that Rahul Gandhi's real takkar is with Modi and it's not with Smriti Irani. Basically, they wanted to do that. If it's with Modi and that is the real takkar, go to
Varanasi. वो नहीं करेगा.
So why Raebareli? Because comfort factor. But I think the plan is that if he wins both Raebareli and Wayanad, he gives up Raebareli and Priyanka fights the by-election from Raebareli.
But see how unfair to people of Wayanad. Exactly, first of all, they have no clue that this man is going to fight from another seat. That's what the left was asking.
But Shehzad, the South has a long history of being condemned by the Gandhis. Chikmagalur was another such constituency.
Medak.
Yeah,
Medak she took though.
She did. She didn't have an option. But Chikmagalur was one more constituency that was used and discarded by the Gandhis. Right? So the South is used to this kind of behavior. We are used to being, Africans, we are used to being treated, the Gandhis treat us the way the Belgians and King Leopold treated the Congo.
And just for your clarity, the words are being used and chosen by Abhijit. I cannot.
No. I can show you WhatsApp messages where he chose the words for me.
No. 1 second. Just to clarify that I don't know what condomized means, but I'm sure it has a meaning. So these are words that he chooses. So just let me. But you see, the problem is that my party shares memes which are done on us. Whereas, if you were belonging to another party, they would put you in jail for it. So these are your words. So I can't take offense to it because my party doesn't take offense to, people's opinions. So just putting it out there.
Right. What difference do you see? Because in 2014, when the BJP came to power, it was more about, infrastructure develop karna hai, economy ko grow karna hai. Obviously, Hindutva hai. In 2019, it was the big ticket sort of Hindutva items. Kashmir and Ram Mandir and things like that. Supposing the BJP wins, comes to power in 2024.
Supposing.
ये podcast
sponsored by Congress है क्या?
But it is a question. It's a valid
question. Rahul Gandhi, if you're watching, sponsored by Congress.
The only supposition is whether the BJP is getting 370 or whether it is getting 385. There is no supposition beyond that. This is our confidence.
So going by what Shehzad just said, what do you expect or what do you think of Modi 3.0?
Do read our Sankalp Patra. There's a roadmap there. But I'll tell you one thing that I think Modi ji will continue to do. It is going to be the removal of government in those sections of society's lives which don't need it. And the interface of government in the lives of those who really need it. So no interference by government if you don't need it. And interface with a transparent and a very accountable digital platform. If you see, a lot of our public deliveries have now started becoming online. So it's transparent and efficient. So 30 lakh crores has been transferred to the poorest of the poor through a click of a button. So no 85 paisa is being stolen by any Lutera Panja. And it goes directly. Those who need it get the interface and support of government. Those who don't need it are going to get rid of interference of government from their rooms, from their businesses, from their daily lives. And one of the examples of that is the 40,000 compliances that have been done away, the simplification of the non-penalization of many laws, ease of doing business. Some people can argue, more we could have done, less we have done. That can be argued, but the general direction is towards that less government for those who don't need it and more government for those who need the support.
What about you guys? What do you expect more sort of incremental movement on if Modi comes again, or do you see big ticket items like 2019?
The more interesting question would be that if Modi doesn't come back, if it is Congress, what will happen then? What kind of government?
That was my follow-up question.
Yeah, what is the kind of governance? What is the kind of government? What are the kind of policies and programs that we are going to get? Will it be as per the manifesto? I don't believe that. I think the manifesto is one thing and what the governance will be is totally different thing. What Modi will bring in, I don't know, because apparently there's an 80-day plan which has already been given to various ministries and they have already made the chart as to how they're going to go forward. So that seems to be in the works already. But everybody is tight-lipped about it as to what is going to happen. It's not going to be more of the same for certain because a third term is a legacy term, right? Yeah. So he has to bring in some radical changes, which he has said that. In my interview, I said that when you went to RBI and when you said ki bahut kuch hone wala hai, some people were scared, you know, top industries were, oh my God, what's he going to do? Radical. Market doesn't like any radical changes. They want some kind of a continuity, right? Radical means they're worried. फिर से demonetization type of हथौड़ा वाला, you know, something like that. So he then responded to said किसी को डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. So more reformist or more changes beneficial is what he was trying to say when he said there's going to be huge changes. So, but it is for certain, whoever you talk to in the BJP, off the record they tell you that it's not going to be more of the same in the third term. There's going to be there are going to be certain changes and they're going to be reforms. Like whether you talk about police reforms, judicial reforms, where bureaucracy is going to, bureaucracy is going to see changes. There have been teams which are working on papers to see maybe more lateral entries in the bureaucracy, changes which will will happen in the third term.
But just if I may, before Vijay tips into this, हमारे मन में जो radical reforms है, ask somebody on the street कि radical reform क्या है, he says मेरे घर में पहली बार चूल्हा सिलेंडर आ गया, ये radical reform है. अब उनको स्मिता जी के radical reform से कोई लेना देना नहीं.
Correct. Everybody's radical.
मेरा radical reform ये है कि 370 को लात मार के हटाया तो वाल्मीकि समाज को उनका अधिकार मिला जम्मू कश्मीर में.
Absolutely right. You know this radical. Sorry, 1 second. This radical reforms. While I was driving into your studio, I was listening to one, a porter in a railway station, and he said, "Systems have to change. My child." मैं पेट काट के मैं उसको पढ़ाता हूँ, he cannot compete with that आपके बच्चे के साथ, whoever was interviewing, वो नहीं compete कर सकता. रेलवे का एग्जाम हो जाए, जो भी हो जाए, systems have to change, and I think those voices will carry forward, which he was saying. My radical and his radical.
Two examples of radical, which would not seem radical to you. Okay, when this government took power, everything was cash. Digital was at most card where you had to go stand outside an ATM. Yeah. Today, a fruit vendor or a cart vendor,
everyone,
when he says cash, he doesn't mean cash. People get irritated if you give them cash today. Because they expect cash to be this. Okay, now, you are only looking at the digital interface. Look at in India where everybody now owns a mobile phone. You know, every month, we add more mobile phone users than Israel's entire population. Every month. Wow. Second, nobody wants to talk about this, but look at the change. We have generated a full healthcare system in this country where nobody is ever going to nobody is going to die outside a hospital being uncared for because that Ayushman Bharat card will cover you. 5 lakh tak, and 5 lakh in a government hospital is a lot of money. Okay? You will not be allowed to just die. Why isn't anybody talking about the fact that we don't have hunger deaths anymore? तुम्हारा जो privatization हुआ है, इतना धड़ाधड़ privatization हुआ है, Air India, now we're criticizing Tata. We're not criticizing the government anymore. Tata mucked it up. That is their problem. Yeah. Okay? So we'll give gali galoj to Tatas. But I no longer have to foot the bill of this useless goddamn airline. Yeah. Right? 370 is gone. Yeah. How big is that? Was that... That was such a huge change, but all of these changes cumulatively have brought about Ram Mandir huge.
In Bihar, it's kind of insane because I know people jo thoda Modi ye, Modi wo.
This is number one. I think number two. Sorry, let me just quickly finish.
Ram Mandir happened too early, and
I disagree. I disagree because I don't think Ram Mandir could have happened in peak election because the election model I don't think.
And aaj bhi logon ko yaad hai.
Yaad hai because you're still seeing all the Bhagwa flags outside. Yes. because that's the normalization of Hinduism.
Yes.
We were ashamed to be Hindus before, but now we're not. Now, part 2 of this is what's going to happen in the next government. इतना धड़ाधड़ रिफॉर्म होने वाला है.
अच्छा?
हाँ, I don't know about police
खटाखट
खटाखट. That's please. That's
धड़ाधड़.
That's
खटाखट.
We are getting into slightly.
But you're going to see the Uniform Civil Code for one thing happen. You're going to see judicial reforms possibly. I'm not too sure about it. Police reforms nahi hoga. But the regulatory reforms and the bureaucratic accountability you're going to see is going to be fantastic. Third is to answer the question that you raised. What happens if the Congress comes to power? You remember that I think it was Godrej bulbs ka. I'm also, all three of us are going to jail.
Khatakat.
Everybody's going to Khatakat, hum sab jail jayenge. But you remember those Godrej bulbs or Bajaj tubes and bulbs?
Yeah.
They go to the astrologer and like, tere future mein andhakar hi andhakar hai. Because normally, if this was the normal Congress party, I would have totally agreed that the manifesto and what would actually be done, it would be market friendly, it would not be so Muslim appeasement government, etc., etc. But with Rahul Gandhi, he is a byproduct of extra constitutionality. Everything about him has been extra constitutional. The NAC was an extra constitutional supra cabinet. His tearing up of those papers which forced Manmohan Singh to withdraw that thing was extra constitutional. His control of the... Who is he in the Congress party? Yeah, he's nobody in the Congress party. And yet he controls the Congress party, and even the head of the Congress party has to play second fiddle to him. Everybody in the Congress party has to play second fiddle. That boy, he screams extra constitutionality from every orifice of his existence.
But let me just complete. I know, I mean, if he's a boy, then I'm an infant.
But he calls himself youth icon.
हाँ, तो youth icon है, तो फिर मैं teenage icon. But if I could just complete, first of all, it is presumptuous of Abhijit to think that if their government was formed, putting the IF in capital, that Rahul would be Prime Minister for the full 5 years, because what I have been told is that they had a meeting somewhere in one of these big hotels, the negotiators, and they have decided first year will be Mamta. So all the Sanatanis will be under threat. Then it will be Lalu. So it will be free run for Jungle Raj. Then third year it will be what Abhijit may like, Aam Aadmi Party. It will be a happy hour all through the years.
ये कितना गंदा माँ बाप की गाली दे रहा है, वो भी पॉडकास्ट पे. ये शरीफ पॉडकास्ट है, गंदी गंदी गाली मत दे, शराफत से पेश हो.
Fourth year is going to be one of the other allies like Stalin, so that he can further the agenda of Sanatan elimination. And then the last year it will be Rahulji, who will, if you have two houses, then one house is
So
Congress.
you know what I think is that if the Congress comes to power, it will be with a slim majority, and yes, they will have all these people in their cabinet, and it will be somewhat like that the first term of Dr. Manmohan Singh's thing, that everybody was a power center in himself or herself, and do what you want to, so long as Sarkar mat girao. And there will be, even if it's not Rahul Gandhi as Prime Minister, whoever is Prime Minister, it will be run by the Congress and run by the family. More than the Congress, run by the family. That's exactly how it has been. And as far as when I said that hum log sab jail mein honge, there is a large section of the media who talks about that utopian era of, you know, having sway over everything that is done. Believe me, when the BJP was in the opposition, they used to say, "Abhi humko aane do, hum Nuremberg trials karenge, tum sabko jail mein dalenge." Koi jail nahi gaya. Right? Even if the Congress comes, koi jail nahi jayega. This is all nonsense. This is all talk in the opposition. When you actually, who said that? That if you in the opposition, you are like poetry, and when you come and you rule, it's prose. So when it actually come into government, it's done in a different manner, right? You don't just put everybody in jail, unlike what people might say about the BJP.
No, but one second. The verification of this is that a very innocent and a very trendy meme is going on social media. It was made for two leaders, one for my leader, Prime Minister Modi, and one for another leader of certain sections of society in West Bengal. Now, look at the reaction that came when the leader of that section of society in West Bengal was portrayed in that meme. Immediately, Kolkata police issued a Talibani fatwa that you disclose your identity, disclose. And here, my leader, who's a very bad dictator, we need to take lessons in dictatorship from West Bengal, the Chief Minister. he said that, "Arey wow, in peak political season, or what a light and comical
but
representation."
It was such a cute
And he retweeted it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am saying that, Dhruv
It was
Rathi,
such a full toss for the BJP
No.
as well. Ki bhaiya, lo.
the Prime Minister, the one area where he has failed is that not meeting up to Dhruv Rathi's expectations. He has been an extremely bad dictator, and I hope that he takes lessons in dictatorship from the established dictators like Indira ji or from Mamta ji. I think the established dictators हमको सीखना है.
Whatever said and done, please do not take Bitcoin lessons from Dhruv.
क्रिप्टो मत खरीदना.
क्रिप्टो मत खरीदना, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एडवाइस मत खरीदना. जो ऑटोबान में रहता है, where you're allowed, there is no speed limit and you can drive at 320 kilometers per hour. Telling you what do you need roads for.
No, has he tweeted?
I haven't seen a single episode of this.
But I'm just wondering, since you're a consumer of Dhruv Rathi, Abhijit, I know you're a consummate and
you are a consummate and closeted consumer. To Dhruv Rathi, Shehzad.
Yes.
You will not told me, yaar.
I told you Dhruv Rathi se bach ke rehna. You have
No. You said, I have the WhatsApp to prove it. He said,
now,
Dhruv Rathi is the greatest intellectual in India. Please watch Dhruv Rathi.
But you didn't see the winky I sent after that message. That's the problem. You saw only one message. Digital India mein pura message padho. Suniye, my point is, has he done a 10-12 minute video where he, with his fingers, expressions, etc.
वो अजीत भाई उसका नकल उतारते हैं अच्छी तरह.
So has he done about this, how this, whether it's dictatorship, if you send a police notice for sharing a meme, and if you quote tweet it, then is that dictatorship?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if he's done anything on that.
How he voted, by the way?
Reply is
I have
democratic.
voted.
How has he voted?
Madras.
I voted in
South
Noida.
Madras, Tamilisai Soundararajan.
My vote is in Noida.
I voted for Tamilisai Soundararajan.
I voted for Mahesh Sharma.
Sorry, in case you people don't understand that in the
North India.
Arabs, Chinese,
and the whites
and whites don't understand. I voted for Tamil song Pretty King.
Ah, very nice.
What song? Sai is not song.
Isai is song.
Isai.
Music. Tamil music Pretty King.
So very
Soundararajan. Rajan is king.
Soundararajan.
It's not pretty.
Beautiful. it sounds better. Tamil music, Pretty King.
So very finally, abhi agar aap Congress ko dekhein, and we're seeing, they've really leaned into the sort of Muslim appeasement, the taking Mandal to its, extreme limit as possible. Is tarah ki jo baatein kar rahe hain, and the sort of vitriol that we've seen from, especially Rahul Gandhi, when it comes to Prime Minister Modi ki, wo to darta hai mujhse, ऐसे कांप रहा था जब मैंने उससे बात की, things like that. If, again, sorry Rahul ji, मैं if डाल रहा हूँ सामने फिर से, but if let's say कि BJP comes to power and the Congress party loses, after 2014 he seemed to have doubled down on that kind of vitriol. After 2024, do you think they'll triple down? Do you think there's going to be any sort of introspection? कि अब क्या करें? Let's try something different now. What do you think happens there?
They can't course correct. You see, they've chosen the path.
It's just not possible.
It's a resource competition path. In resource competition paths where you're cannibalizing votes amongst each other for that what is left, it is impossible to have an enlightened discourse. It's a race to the bottom with barrel scraping, because this is what happens, when civilizations come to an end.
Think यार ये इतने समय से हम लोग डूब रहे हैं, कुछ कर नहीं सकते.
But they can't. You see, they can't, because the only thing you can do realistically is break Hindutva with all this caste census and things like that. That's probably not working. We disagree on this, but I don't think it's working. The second is you can outflank them on the right, which if they do, that's, one in the hand is worth two in the bush kind of thing. So they won't do that. What are you left with? Right? This is civilizational collapse. The Maya collapse or the Bronze Age collapse used to look like this. So you're, on one hand, you're seeing that one is not getting affected by the Bronze Age collapse or the Maya collapse. But kahin jagah, you're seeing exactly what happened to Tikal and, sorry, no history analogies, but you're seeing exactly that chronic civil war, cannibalization happening within the Congress, within the left. This time in Kerala, the left spent more time attacking the Congress than it did for the first time in its life than attacking the BJP. If that is exactly what happened in the Maya collapse. Okay.
And Smita, you do agree that you do feel like if they triple down on this sort of Mandal politics, Muslim appeasement, it might
Nobody's going to be able to go back on Mandal politics. Not even the BJP.
No, as in like complete extreme कि हम सारे reservation caps हटा देंगे, जितनी आबादी उतना हक करेंगे, पूरी तरह से redistribution करेंगे.
If they lose one more election. Now what happened when they lost that 2019 election? There was that CWC meeting, everybody got together and all that, and Rahul threw a tantrum. He said, I want to bring changes and you people don't do that. In fact, one of them even walked out of that meeting because he pointedly said that because of you, I couldn't bring it. G23 uske baad bana tha, where one person walked out. There was a lot which happened, and then one person said that we were seen as anti-Hindu. We need to change that. Then you saw Rahul Gandhi going everywhere. The Janeo bit happened, the temple visits for all the state elections which were happening, where they said, then somebody comes up with a meme and things is saying, you are trying to do something jo Modi ki core competency hai. Tum wahan jaake tum usko kar rahe ho, what are you doing? So, this knee-jerk reaction, not a single focus. Oh, okay, this didn't work for us. Yeah. That YouTuber is right when he says that. So let's move. Let's shift pace. So you try to do something else. You try to bring the mainstream with you. No, let's go to the other side. So then, to the other side, sharp left.
The thing is, political discourse is actually being run by YouTubers.
Yeah. So they go with
incredible.
That. Comedians.
See,
if
I may address the question he's asked, कि 2024 में अब कांग्रेस और राहुल का क्या होगा? तो लेट मी सम इट अप. 2014 में गवर्नेंस गया, 2019 में रेलेवेंस गया, 2024 में एग्जिस्टेंस जाएगा.
Really?
एग्जिस्टेंस इन द सेंस
दैट इज देयर ड्रीम. कांग्रेस मूव.
नहीं, आप मेरी बात को देखो, पूरा मैं करता हूं उससे पहले आपको Prashant Kishore, although I don't agree with many things he says, but one thing he has said very rightly. Prashant Kishore has said that the Congress, I'm not saying Congressism will go.
Achha.
Congressism will have to reincarnate in a new variant. You see, when a virus is attacked by an antidote, ये virus है. You mean, now again, let me clarify. I'm just giving an example. I'm not comparing one party to virus.
Location मांग लेंगे?
नहीं, ठीक है, वो मांगते रहे. मैं तो बोलता हूँ दिल्ली में रहता हूँ. तो वैसे तो अभी आजकल उन्होंने जो फेक वीडियो डाला है वो अपना लोकेशन नहीं बता पा रहे जिसने फेक वीडियो डाला है. तो एनीवेज माय पॉइंट इज ओनली दिस कि द पॉइंट आई वाज ट्राइंग टू मेक इज दैट एग्जिस्टेंस इन द करंट फॉर्म will end and the Congressism will have to find a new avatar. It cannot go on as business as usual and there will be some churning that will take place. Now it depends how fast that will happen depending on whether they reach, if they reach 20 seats, then it will be very quick. If they reach 30 seats, if they reach 40 seats, then there will still be some kind of nahi dekhiye ab to theek hai. If they reach 50 seats, they might even celebrate it. They might say nahi 50 पे आ गया बहुत अच्छा देखो
moral victory.
हमारा वोट शेयर ऐसा they'll calculate.
मोदी वेव खत्म हो गया.
So it will just depend whether they get 20, 30, 40, 50. So it depends on that. होना तो वही है.
और अगर 150 आ गए तो 150 आ गए तो
वो इस देश में नहीं है. आप कौन से देश का बोल रहे हो वो बता दो मुझे. इस देश में तो नहीं आ रहा है. आप कौन से देश की बात? पाकिस्तान से वैसे दुआ ऑलरेडी आ रही है.
जब तक गांधी फैमिली है और एंड दे डिसाइड फॉर द पार्टी, तब तक कांग्रेस है. वहां तक तो ठीक है, मैं मानती हूँ कि ठीक है तुम लोग अगर वो बोल रहे हो तो ठीक है, बट जैसे जब तक गांधी फैमिली है ये देश है. हाउ डू यू एक्सप्लेन दैट?
इंडिया इज इंदिरा. ये वो वाली मानसिकता है.
As somebody explained it to Shehzad some time back, the Congress is a proprietorship. It's a sole proprietorship.
That you please tell who explained this to me.
I don't know.
Manish Tiwari on the phone.
But it's a sole proprietorship. ठीक है. And that is its greatest weakness, because when a dynasty, when it's an imperial form of government and everything, it revolves around the emperor. If your emperor ends up being a clown,
that's what happens.
Celery.
Which historical king would you compare Rahul to?
Tughlaq.
No, Tughlaq.
Ironically, he used to have a house on that road, but anyways.
Yeah, but not Tughlaq.
Not Tughlaq.
Tughlaq Lane.
There are several.
King Henry the 16th.
Louis the 16th.
Louis the 16th, sorry, not Henry.
Louis the 16th is just one. Tsar Nicholas is more likely.
Wow.
Because Louis the 16th was stupid. Tsar Nicholas was intensely stupid, and he was intensely disconnected. You see?
अभी तो सब कह रहे Trudeau है.
No, Trudeau's won 2 elections. Let's never compare Rahul with Trudeau. Rahul's never won anything in his life. Trudeau still won. ठीक है ना? Trudeau actually had a job as a bouncer. Okay, it wasn't an intellectual job, but he worked as a bouncer. इसने तो कोई भी job थाम के नहीं रखा है ना. So I would say the closest is Tsar Nicholas.
All right.
Tsar Nicholas.
Well, that should do it for today. And I want to thank Abhijit, I want to thank Smita, Shehzad, and Anand Ranganathan's ghost for asking the questions about Congress.
Yeah, and just let me put it out there once again that each one's comments are their own, so don't.
No. My comments were all dictated by Shehzad, and I have WhatsApp.
It's on the
You're
phone.
going to get me sacked from my job by saying that.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that'll do it for the... What caucus did you say it was?
Patliputra Prattle.
The Patliputra Prattle.
Quite a tongue twister.
Yeah, no, but it's fun. I like
That is quite a tongue twister. So thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you for the next one. And until then, secular pranam to everyone. Take care.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
And Jai Shri Ram.